to Miss Floris's virtual classroom. I'm here today to do our science lesson. Today is Tuesday, November the 3rd. And thank you so much for coming. Yesterday, we did an introduction to rocks. We did a rocket introduction to our unit, and then we also did an anticipation guide where we made some predictions of agree and disagree statements about what we're going to read today. So we are going to read part of the article today. We're going to check our anticipation guide, and then we're going to read the second part tomorrow. All right, and then there's going to be a super exciting activity for us to do on Thursday. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's look at our anticipation guide, right? So these are statements that we're going to read through, and then we had already decided some agree and disagree statements. You may have decided some agree and disagree statements on your own, but let's go through these statements real quick and think about our answers before we start reading, right? All right, statement 1, all rocks have smooth textures, and we picked agree. All rocks have smooth textures. Let's find out if we're right or wrong whenever we're reading. Statement 2, properties are how something looks, feels, sounds, tastes, or smells. I remember this from our first unit about matter, where we talked about physical and chemical properties. And I remember that properties can be how something looks, how something feels, how something sounds, how something tastes, or it smells. Statement 3, a geologist is a scientist who studies maps. And we talked about this during our vocabulary, but I can see that I went ahead and put a disagree. I don't think a geologist is a scientist who studies maps, and I can't wait to read more about a geologist in our reading, because I know if this is a statement, we're going to be learning about it for our reading. Statement 4, animals and plants that have become rocks after they die are called fossils. And we haven't learned about fossils in 2nd grade yet, so I'm excited to find out what fossils are. I went ahead and put a disagree because I wasn't sure, and that's okay too. Sometimes when you're reading anticipation guides, or if you're doing pre-reading exercises, you might not know all the answers. That's okay. Just like in your shared reading where you make predictions and you read about what you're about to read about before you start, that way you can think about what things do you already know about the topic before you begin. All right, statement 5, hot, cold, big, small, red, and blue are examples of textures. And we haven't learned a lot about textures yet. It was one of our vocabulary words, but I can't wait to read more about it. So let's go ahead and start reading. And remember, today we're not going to finish reading the entire article. We're going to read part of the article. We're going to look back at our anticipation guide, and then we'll finish it tomorrow. All right, our very first thing is a reflect. And we see in the picture, we see 2 boys that are playing on some rocks with some water going over them. Let's find out what they're doing. Cal and Jake play on the rocks. The river tumbles over them. Jack sits on a ledge. Water rushes over his legs. It splashes on his back. Cal laughs from a lower rock. Water tickles his toes. Water has rushed over these rocks for a long time. It has made them smooth. Cal and Jake have to be careful. The rocks are slippery. They are cold. Go ahead and pause and take a moment to think about, have you ever gone camping? Have you ever gone swimming in a lake or a river? If you have, you probably have noticed that sometimes when you're in a lake or a river, the rocks are slippery. That's because they have water that's run over them for a long, long time, and it's made them nice and smooth, right? Water and other things like wind can affect how rocks look over a long period of time. Oh, look at that. There's a vocabulary word. Property, how something looks, feels, sounds, tastes, or smells. And that's one of our statements on our anticipation guide. I can't wait to fill that out after we finish reading. All right, let's keep going. Rocks have different textures. This is the part where we're going to learn about textures. Texture is how the surface of something feels. Does the rock feel smooth? Does it feel rough? Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it bumpy or sharp? And I just want you to take a moment and think, just because we're in a virtual classroom, we're going to have to use our eyeballs to imagine what the texture of a rock feels like. If you can at home, you can go outside and look at rocks at home that you can pick up. But when we're doing our assignments or we're talking about rocks in our virtual classroom, we're going to have to use our eyeballs to think about how a rock might feel. Look at this rock. This rock has lots of little holes in it. It has lots of little bumps and ridges on it. So I can see this rock is hard. It's going to be rough because I can see all of the little holes and stuff on it. So when I push my fingers against it, my hand against it, I know I'm going to feel all those little holes. I'm going to feel all those little sharp edges. And I know that it's bumpy because I can see how bumpy it is on the side. Let's look at some other rocks and try to predict what the texture would be. And it gives us a hint right here. Use words like smooth, rough, and sharp to help you. So when I click on this, I can see, is this going to be a smooth rock? No, it's not. I can see it's not going to be smooth because I can see all the little ridges. I can see all the little bumps. I know that when I pass my hand through it, I'll feel all those little bumps. So is it going to be smooth? No, it's going to be rough. Let's look at this rock. Whoa, these look like really good skipping rocks. If you've ever skipped a rock on a river or a lake, you know that those rocks have to be smooth. I can see how shiny these rocks are. I can see that they'll be super smooth when I touch them because of how shiny they are. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll finish up with this last part. All right, so now the next part we're going to look at is color. Rocks are different colors. Look at the rocks around your home or school. What color are they, right? Look at these rocks. What color are these rocks? I see that some are white, some are brown, some are black, and some are gray. There's all these different kind of colored rocks, right? You can see on these rocks too that some are pink, some are black, some are gray. But on this rock, this is one big rock, but it's a bunch of colors in one little rock. And I can see that there's speckles of white, I can see there's parts of gray and black, and there's a red background, and this is all one big rock. You can identify some rocks by their colors. Whenever you look at their colors, the color of the rocks might also help us know the name of the rock. The color turquoise is blue and green, and we can see that this turquoise rock is blue and green too. Look at the other rocks. Do you see how they might have similar names? We see a blue azurite. That's a blue rock. We see a red sandstone. That's red too. All right, so we're going to pause right here because we're going to finish our reading tomorrow. Let's go ahead and stop and look back at our anticipation guide and see if we can answer some of these statements. All rocks have smooth textures. Did we learn something different in our reading? Yes, we did. We learned that rocks have different textures. So I'm going to go ahead and put a disagree because now we know that they can be smooth, they can be rough, they can be sharp, they can be bumpy. Properties are how something looks, feels, sounds, tastes, or smells. That's still an agree, right? And we know that those are physical properties. All right, and did we learn about geologists yet? Not quite yet, so we're going to go ahead and skip over that. Did we learn about animals and plants yet? Did we learn about the word fossils? Not yet. That's going to have to be on tomorrow's reading. And our last statement, hot, cold, big, small, red, and blue are examples of textures. Is that true? No, it's not. We learned that smooth, bumpy, rough, sharp. Those are words that we associate with texture. All right, Huns. So that is going to be all for our lesson today. Thank you so much for listening. I want you to think about those rocks because we're going to finish out our article tomorrow. We're going to talk about fossils and we're going to talk about what geologists are. I'm so excited. Have a great Tuesday.